I'm at my house. Tom's at his house. You're driving around or you're watching on your computer and you're thinking it's Friday, it's Libations Friday, it's loosey-goosey time, and I agree. It is. So we're actually, because we have to do this, recording this minutes before it actually would be live. So we're not way back in time. This isn't last night. It's pretty much right now, and we can respond to the draft and talk about what was. And actually, there's a lot going on. So we'll get to it and have some fun with it. Good to see you, good sir. Today will be better for Bucs fans as we actually make picks. And there's some great names on the board.
There are, and maybe some names that another team is more interested in than the Bucs, and you trade back and you acquire more assets. I'm okay with whatever. I'm in a weird position. Usually in the draft, we've each got 2 or 3 dudes. Maybe we align on 1 or 2 of them, but we each have people that we really, really like. This year, I don't really care. The closer to the football the draft pick, the more I'm going to like it by default because we need defensive tackles. The Bucs need guards. The linebacker Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. I know he doesn't run a really fast 40, but he's an instinctive player. He understands, and by all accounts, the Georgia defense is really complex, and he understood it inside and out. So if that's the pick, that's good. You can't displease me today in the draft. It's such a weird thing because the draft is a bunch of different things at once. It's all about hope. Everybody can feel hope, and they're right to on draft day. There is no bad take on draft day because you don't know. You're not going to know if you're right or wrong 2 or 3 years after it's over. But for your own team, sometimes you have a list of things that you want to see achieved, so you could be mad at your own team. And most years you are if you don't make the pick that you want to see happen. This year as a Buck fan, there are so many things that this organization is going to need over the next 5 years when Brady's era is done and they're cap strapped. So whatever. Best player available. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I do have some wants and some kids that I really like. And you mentioned number 1 on my list is Nakobe Dean. I loved him as a player at Georgia, and we all saw a lot of him. And we're a little long in the tooth. You got to replace Levante David, and you got a guy that I think can do that. And he reminds me a little bit of Levante David because they talk about him being a little bit undersized like Levante David was coming out, but has football fast, right? Football fast in pads. Reads plays, diagnoses extremely well, is very physical despite being undersized. You know, he's 229 pounds, so he's not that undersized, but he is 5'11", and that's why they bring it up. But he is football fast, he is instinctual, and he is physical for that height. So I like him a lot, and if they take him with this pick early in the second round, I'll be very excited. But, you know, they also like that Logan Hall kid, defensive tackle from Houston. I haven't seen much of him, but it's a defensive tackle, like you said. It's a position of need. Colorado State's tight end Trey McBride, who was the Mackey Award winner and is a freak of nature, had over 1,000 yards receiving last year at Colorado State. We need tight end. Gronk is not back. He has not said he's coming back for sure, so we don't even know if he's going to play. The Bucs only have 2 tight ends on their roster. So, yeah, man, I mean, they need a tight end. So if they take one here, I would be okay with that too.
Yeah, I mean, again, even if you take one and Gronk comes back, a lot of these dudes that are on the Bucs roster are old. So whatever position it is, even if you've got somebody there, or defensive tackle. I mean, Ndamukong Suh might come back. He's old. But even Vita, I don't know how many years you have left in that body. He was already injury-prone in the Super Bowl run. So who knows? Any position is okay, but I suspect with Gronk, he just doesn't want to do OTAs and camp. So he's going to come back at the last possible minute because what does he care? And he's proven that. He did it a couple of years ago. He looked like he was too old to play in the NFL. By week 5, he was fine. So I that's what I suspect. He's like, I'm not doing all that BS. I'm going to show up and play football one more time, and then that's it.
Well, and the Bucs, I would think, though, Tom, and I agree with you, but the Bucs would be more than happy to say, fine, don't come to camp. I mean, we understand you know how to play football. You understand the offense. You're Tom's right-hand man. But I'd like to get a yes from him. You know, I'd like to hear that, okay, I'm not showing up to any of this nonsense, but just for purposes of the draft, you need to know whether or not I'm playing. Yeah, I'm playing. I would like that, and we haven't heard that. So it is interesting. I do wonder. I mean, obviously, he's taken a beating in his career. It was really kind of a minor miracle he came back and was as productive as he has been. Real quick, just to recap for those who didn't go to Bumpus last night and watch the draft with us, I want to thank Bumpus Local 349 as always. Great time, great food, great people. And thanks to everybody who did come out. We had a blast. It was good to see everybody and to watch the draft. Draft is always fun, never disappoints. And we got a lot of action. First of all, The trades came after those top 5 picks got in, which were pretty much what we thought. A little shakeup here and there. Jags take Travon Walker, which we thought would happen. Lions take Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Makes sense. Good pick for them. The Texans took Derek Stingley Jr. You can tell how old I am. I remember his dad. The Jets take Sauce Gardner, and the Giants take Kayvon Thibodeau. So that's then all of a sudden you get these trades, which right off the bat, when the Ravens sent Hollywood Brown to the Cardinals for the 23rd pick, everybody kind of opened their eyes and, okay, what's going on here? I mean, he's an established, really good player. Here's what I think is funny in the aftermath, Tom. Everybody's Twitter presence, social media presence, whatever it might be in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever, these guys all feel the need to have a response to things. And I just wish guys wouldn't, especially when we find out that it's incredibly disingenuous, because Lamar Jackson went to Twitter last night and ranted about this. And his final tweet was WTF. He was furious. Yeah. And then you read the story today and you find out that Marquis Brown's the one who asked to leave. He wanted out, first of all, pretty much demanded that he be traded. Secondly, so Baltimore said, "Oh, okay, if you're unhappy." Now, Lamar and he are supposed to be boys. So then you find out later on that Lamar knew that the trade was coming because they told him it was going to happen. So all of that ranting was for what? Come look at me again? Get it together, Lamar Jackson. He wanted out. He's your boy. He told you he was leaving. The franchise told you he was leaving. The impending deal had already been laid out before the draft. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. One more reason to dislike that guy. That's just nonsense. That's an aside rant on my part. It just pisses me off because it's silly. But it was a major trade. And then from there, the Eagles pull off the trade, which grab A.J. Brown from the Titans. And then the Titans basically take A.J. Brown's clone in Traylon Burks. So it's like, all right, well, we'll just get a younger version of you. Fascinating first round.
Yeah, it was. That was one of my favorite parts is on the NFL Network broadcast. They had a player comp at the bottom of the 3 bullet points. And it says A.J. Brown. I was like, oh, man, that's too perfect. Yeah, if you are a wide receiver and your name is Brown, you were traded last night. I think if you're just judging those 2 trades for the players, and Schefter and Rappaport had said before the draft had come up that this might be a draft that includes player trades, not picks for picks. Like there might be players that go
legit players,
place to place. The A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith pairing in Philadelphia, that's a really nice complementary piece for Devonta. Different players. The Hollywood Brown thing, I don't know. I still, it's amazing. What is it, year 4 now we're going into with Kingsbury? I still don't know what they are. Like Nuke Hopkins is really good. Hollywood Brown still is more of a burner. He's a gadget player. He's not a down for down, winner. He if it's 3rd and 10, I'm not looking for Hollywood Brown and I got to have it. A.J. Brown I would look for because he's big and strong and can fight and generate that separation and make a catch in a contested area. Philadelphia is building some nice pieces for a quarterback who is not currently on their roster, whoever that's going to be.
Okay, so good point. Philadelphia had a great draft last night, first round. Good movement, everything they did I like. The Jets, bravo to the New York Football Jets. How about that? I mean, they were the overwhelming winners last night. They went 3 for 3 with their selections, and that includes our own Jermaine Johnson, which is what we got to get to here in the opener, which is congratulations to Jermaine Johnson. Love that guy. Love what he did for us, obviously, and he's still doing for us because he repped last night and he talked about Florida State and, he's excited and he gets to go to New York City. And I would have, if you told me before the draft, hey, Jermaine, you're going to end up in New York, but it's going to be with the Jets, I'd have been like, oh, that's a toughie, buddy. I'm so sorry for you. That's where careers go to die. And, I have a soft spot in my heart for anybody that gets stuck there because Marvin Jones got stuck there and, he got hurt and, all that stuff. And I've never, it's not the Jets' fault, but I've never forgiven it because Marvin should be in the Hall of Fame. And anyhow, on the heels of last night, and I like their coach, who's defensive minded, man, Jermaine, you might be on to something big here. If the quarterback develops, if Wilson develops, they may have something going on in New York.
Yeah, I would have been a Jet fan if we never moved from Brooklyn. So they've always had a soft spot in my heart as like Team B. I don't say that too often because there's no reason to,
Yeah.
but there might be reason to now, just to because when the Bucks played them that day late in the season last year, I know that was the Antonio Brown theatrics with the shirtless, goodbye. But I was so impressed because we pulled that game was a steal. We weren't supposed to win that game.
By the way, one of the underrated Tom Brady drives in his history. It's an absurd drive.
It is, and that
it makes zero sense. That throw is insane.
That was the most schoolboyish I've ever been as a Brady Buccaneer in that short period of time. Like even the Super Bowl, even the throw to Scotty Miller with Green Bay. I mean, that's a huge play, but that's like you're just like, damn right, get him. That was like I was giggling. This is crazy. Look at this guy go.
Yeah.
But I was just so impressed by how tough that team was, the Jets, because they weren't good, but they were better than the sum of their parts. And Jermaine fits it. And they're right. Saleh said this in his press conference that this is the most game-ready pass rusher in the draft right now, but he also fits what we're about. And Jermaine said the same thing. Their identity is my identity. Everybody on that team, culture-wise, has a chip on their shoulder for different reasons. I love it. It's a great fit for him and a defensive coach. He's not the only guy on that defensive front who's a good player. They're going to be fun to watch this year, and his career is going to be fun to monitor.
Circling back very quickly to Philadelphia, you nailed it at the end. What they've done in putting together A.J. Brown and to have him go with Devonta Smith, who we love, it's the perfect out for a market that pays very close attention to what their front office does. So Philly has to answer for everything. They're held accountable by local sports talk media who do a good job. Philadelphia is one of the better markets to listen to sports talk radio. And they scour the trade, they look at everything. And if one false step that you can be second guessed with, they're coming for you and you got to answer. So what they're doing is saying, look, we're going to go into this year with sorry ass Jalen Hurts. And we know he can't play. You know he can't play in your heart of hearts, but you don't want to believe it. So when he goes out there and sucks again this year with all of these weapons, then we can just part ways with him, and you guys can't get mad at us. I know deep down it's a bigger deal than having to answer to the fans. But you know what I'm saying. It's like if Jalen Hurts can't produce with this, then he can't produce because he's got everything he needs. He's got a running game now, plus he's mobile, and he's got two elite, what we think will be elite receiver combos there. I mean, there's no reason for them not to be good.
Yeah, and they might still be with Hurts at quarterback because they were competitive last year, and this makes them better, more dynamic on offense. Obviously, it does. So this might put them in that 10-7 category. Still got to get used to all those records, but 10-7, 11-6. I mean, they should be a group with Washington now having Carson Wentz. So like exit the conversation over there. The Giants had, I mistakenly said they had Trubisky. They were looking at Trubisky, but Mitch went to Pittsburgh, which now has a new quarterback as well. The Steelers do. That's a division that's going to be, I think, the Cowboys and the Eagles. Those are the two teams that are going to battle this year. And the Eagles offense is interesting because, listen, Jalen Hurts is not the quarterback I'd want on my team, but you want him in your fantasy lineup. And he's a guy any given week that you play against the Eagles, you'd say, crap. He could run for $150 and then throw for $150 and 28 to 30 points on the board.
Yeah, but here's the problem if you're actually trying to win a Super Bowl is that somebody's going to make him throw the ball from the pocket because they'll have defenders that keep him hemmed up, and at that point he's done, which we've seen, which was what the Bucs have done to him and others have done to him, which is like, hey, man, beat us with your arm. You can't consistently make those throws. And he'll have great games because of what you said. He is dynamic. He can run around and extend plays. And occasionally in a regular season game, he'll light it up. He'll certainly light it up in fantasy, so people will have it in their head that he's a good player. But there's a big difference in being a great fantasy player and being a real quarterback in the NFL.
Also, one of the best parts of the draft is in the months and sometimes in some cases years after it's over to hear the backstories of how close such and such player was to going here or a trade happening with one partner, but it could have been this other team that swooped in and whatever. I want to know if the Bucs would have drafted Jermaine Johnson if he was still on the board. I want to know because we were starting to feel it. It just kept on. He kept on pushing back and back.
One pick away.
I know. I wonder if we would have done it. Do you think we would have?
Well, I mean, you're getting rid of three fingers, and at some point, yeah, you're not young off the edge there. With him leaving, I mean, or with him on the roster right now, yeah, I think we might have taken him. I mean, he fits character-wise, too, what you're looking for. Again, we go back to this. He's a physical freak. He's tough. He works hard. He cares. It would have been a nice draw, obviously, too. You throw that in there with Florida State guy in Tampa. A lot of Florida State guys have had a lot of success in Tampa. I don't know. I think we certainly could have. Depends on what we would have been offered. Again, I know that the Bucs went in. Every article I read down in St. Pete and Tampa, and every Buccaneers dedicated website, and we read, you and I both did, everything there was to read. All the people who had actual ins, I texted with our friend Lita Kemper, all of them, they knew the Bucs were looking at several guys. And if they got lucky, because as the draft went on, it became readily apparent that of the four guys that they really liked that they were potentially going to take in the first round, at least two were going to be available when they got to them. And then in even more than that, it ended up being that three or four were available that they liked. So they decided in that moment, well, let's trade out. One of the guys they liked got taken once they traded out, but they still have a pick of three that we know they like. The Houston defensive lineman, the tight end from Colorado State, and as it turns out, Nakobe Dean. And they liked the Penn State linebacker as well. So they were looking at those two guys. They've got their choice here of what they want.
Yeah, and I get it with Barrett and Tryon Shoyinka. You think that you've got it locked down for the next.
I'm worried about Tryon there, but I should probably settle down. He's so young.
He is, but my thought would be you got to get radical in the near future, which would mean to me I would spin off Shaq Barrett in a year or two when this whole thing is blowing up, and because pass rushers are in high demand. There's a guy that you can get a lot of capital for, and then it would have been Tryon and Jermaine Johnson. So that was the math I was doing in my head, but that's also very hopeful, rosy math because I want Jermaine Johnson to be a Buck. I want to continue to root for him like crazy. Of course I will because he's a Nole, but it would have been really cool to watch him in the pewter and the red. I also thought Minnesota had a good draft. That's always something that's near and dear because my wife is a diehard and my mother-in-law diehard Vikings fans, but they didn't have middle round picks and they found a way to trade back. And apparently the safety they got's really good. They need everything in Minnesota right now. They're kind of like the Bucs where the window is doing this. But they get now 33 or 34 tonight just 34. To move back.
We're 33.
Okay. So, sorry. I don't know why I feel like 32 is the first pick of the second round. It's not. But they were able to get 2 mid-round picks just to move back whatever it was, like 15 spots, whatever. That's really good work, especially in a year where this draft is not considered to be top-heavy. This draft is considered to be all about depth. The more picks you get in the middle, the better off you are. And that's what the Bucs did as well by moving back. So good job. But if you traded back last night, you did a good job.
We're just beginning to break this down and have fun with it, plus the look ahead. Plus, I want to circle back on a conversation we had yesterday on the Jeff Cameron Show with David Hale. For those of you that didn't see it, it is posted on warchant.com. It's also on our Twitter feed. It's pretty much everywhere. You should go listen to that conversation because it was a good one. David is always great and insightful and interesting, and I enjoyed it. But it's on a topic that we feel near and dear to our heart right now. Everybody's paying attention to NIL and transfer portal talk. And there's a lot of that as we head into this weekend where most of the players who plan on transferring will have put their name in the transfer portal, certainly by Sunday. So as we get to set the head in the weekend, we're all going to be scouring that transfer portal to see what big names are available, who might Florida State be interested in, which of the Florida State players on the roster currently, if anybody, who's interested in transferring hasn't put their name in yet. We'll see. But we have a transfer portal story. And an NIL story, I should say, coming out of Miami, which is a crazy story. And I want to touch on that momentarily. It's kind of funny in a lot of ways, but boy, you want to talk about modern and the changing landscape of college athletics. It's pretty funny to think about what we're watching down there with the Canes right now and that basketball program. I'll touch on it momentarily, all that other stuff. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
An appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service program with guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 Berry Books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Oh, hey there. I was just singing the praises of Crawfordville Auto and Tire. They do just about everything. Complete engine rebuilds, brakes, shocks, tires, oil change, you name it, they do it. And they offer a 12-month...
Number 2, Jeff Cameron.
All parts and labor. Most of the time, they can service your car the same day and offer towing to help you get to the shop. Now that's something to sing about. Open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 6 at night. Crawfordville Auto Repair and Tires.
This year, Thunder Beach isn't just rolling into Panama City Beach.
Open it up, Jeff Cameron Show.
Rock. Kid Rock, Ted Nugent, and Travis Tritt will headline the Thunder Beach 4-day music festival, with Wade Jennings opening with a free concert the 27th. Hear the Thunder roll and the Legends rock at the Thunder Beach Spring Rally April 27th through May 1st in Panama City Beach. Purchase tickets now at thunderbeachproductions.com. That's thunderbeachproductions.com. Follow Thunder Beach Motorcycle Rally on Facebook or Instagram. Sponsored by Visit Panama City Beach.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
This is an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee. A few months ago, I asked you to contact your legislators to help stop the skyrocketing property insurance rates in Florida. Other states average 2 lawsuits per day on property insurance claims. Florida has 384 per day. The property owners of Florida are being taken advantage of, but it is not by the insurance companies. The companies are paying out 10 times the cost of a claim or more that would have been paid anyway. People are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, suggesting that the property owner may have some damage. The property owner innocently signs something that turns all control of any claim settlement to an attorney that becomes the person designated to get the claim check and who controls the disbursement of the claim payment. If we want these rates to go down, we must reach out to our legislators and let them know how unaffordable home insurance has become and that we want them to support reform that will fix the issues. This has been an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee.
Here we go. Your next chance to grow your green this spring and win $1,000 is coming up at 2 p.m.
I just won $1,000.
Listen for the keyword at the top of the hour. Then enter that keyword online at realtalk93.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.
Goosey Libations Friday edition of the Jeff Cameron Show. Good to be with you as always. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on Warchant TV. If you're listening, thank you for listening on 93.3 Real Talk Radio. So I mentioned a bunch of things towards the end of the last segment, a lot of that involving the draft. We should maybe circle back. One of the most interesting drafts in my lifetime of paying attention to the draft. And the reason is, of course, the dearth of quarterbacks. You mentioned the only one taken. Think about that. Think about the fact that we watched the first round play out last night, and the only quarterback taken was Kenny Pickett. And, of course, that was very predictable in that the Steelers need a quarterback, given that theirs just retired and should have retired 3 years ago. And then secondarily, he's a Pitt kid. So, there's a box office draw. Not that they need it. They sell out every game anyhow. But, it's nice if you got a kid in your backyard. I thought he was the best quarterback of those that were rumored to possibly go in the first round. I don't know. And again, nobody cares what my draft grade is. I don't do this professionally. I mean, I that's not my sole focus, but we watch football. We all do. And we all have an opinion about quarterback play. This is a year where I would have said none of those guys are first round quarterbacks. None of them. If I was picking one that I thought had a chance to someday be a guy that looks like he should have gone in the first round, Kenny Pickett would have been my answer. I actually think there's enough skill there, Tom, that he's got a shot at being a little bit more than serviceable in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because there are a lot of times that you talk about malcontents, and they're usually like receivers or defensive backs. Sometimes it'll be, like a running back or something like that. But I wonder if the conversation in, say, late October, early November around Pittsburgh is going to be, boy, this team looks a lot looser now that they don't have to deal with Ben Roethlisberger's drama every week. Like, oh, I think I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. Oh, I'm really hurt. I want you to know how hurt I am because I'm playing through an injury right now. It's just there was always something going on. So I want to see what that organization looks like without Ben. It's been forever. It was my freshman year in college that they won the Super Bowl and they protected him. Remember that was the Jerome Bettis Super Bowl in Detroit that they beat Seattle. But I want to see what Mike Tomlin's team looks like without that guy because I feel like he's been an anchor, not only because his play is diminished, and that's the biggest factor, but I feel like that locker room is just like, oh, will it ever end? Please, will it end? And I wonder if that makes them kind of a football team that might be better than we thought. Like, I know that they were the final team in the playoffs this year, and that game was a joke before it even kicked off. But I wonder if they're not automatically a better team with like a replacement level quarterback there versus Ben.
Oh, yeah, absolutely they are. Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Yes, every time I watched the Steelers a year ago, I thought, man, you're a quarterback away from being pretty good. It's a weird thing to say for a Hall of Famer, but it was true. His skills had diminished to a place where, honestly, when you watch the Steelers, you went, if they had a quarterback, they might be all right, because they won enough games with his sorry ass. That was almost painful to watch at the end there, watching him labor to throw. Here's a guy that had one of the greatest arms the NFL's ever seen, especially in that little 7 to 8 year window where he was preternaturally good.
Yeah, I remember the year that the Broncos won the Super Bowl for the Sheriff with that defense. That was just unbelievable. That was a defense still won a championship in an era where, it's all about scoring 35. And the only dude that could consistently get the ball down the field when he needed to against that defense was Ben. Ben that year was sick. Mm-hmm. I thought Pittsburgh might have actually been a better and more complete team, but Denver ended up hoisting the trophy at the end. But there were certain pockets in his career. I mean, the throws down in Tampa against the Cardinals, the one in the back of the end, that might be I think it is the greatest throw in the history of the Super Bowl. I don't know that I can automatically think of one that comes immediately to mind that's better than that throw. But he had moments like that. It's just that you'll put up with his drama when he's doing that on Sundays. When he sucks and you deal with the drama, it's just the worst.
Yeah. No, it's funny. You bring up a good point. One of these days we'll sit down dead of summer and think about the 5 or 7 of the greatest throws you've ever seen that really mattered. Like, you had to make that throw. The magnitude of the game was huge, so it would have to be a postseason game of some kind. And yeah, presumably you would probably pick 3 or 4 of the 5 to be in the Super Bowl in a close game where somebody makes an insane throw. You saw one in this last Super Bowl. That throw, which is just crazy, no-looky sidearm nonsense, is crazy. So you've had a few, but that particular throw in terms of both accuracy and power and placement. Yeah, it's also a good catch. That's a tough catch.
It is. And the situation of the game. I mean, everything. It had that Super Bowl. might be the best one I've ever watched. You're just thinking about it because Larry Fitzgerald was about to.
I still feel bad for him at this point. I still feel bad that he won the game.
Yes.
He should have won the game. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have been the MVP anyway.
Yeah.
And then you have the James Harrison play just before halftime with no time on. That game had everything. But Ben is not that guy, and he hasn't been for years. So I know it's a lot of Steelers talk, but this is an era in the NFL where there's a lot of transition going on. There was 15 years where we were like, oh my God, with Peyton and Brady and Rodgers and Breeze and Roethlisberger and Rivers. It's like, will it ever be a different time? You think about if you list the top 5 quarterbacks, they're all young, and there's a lot of weird offenses now in the league. So there's just so much going on. In a weird way, this draft is kind of representative of what the NFL is now, which is a bunch of styles, and there's a bunch of different paths to being great. It's not a statue quarterback and 3 yards in a cloud of dust anymore, and that's cool.
I would love to know what's the through line of the front office gurus in Baltimore that ensures they're going to have the best draft every year. Like, why does Baltimore win the draft virtually every year? Again, I was wrong about Lamar Jackson. I still don't love him. I still don't even know how I feel about Lamar Jackson. I really don't as a player. He's been MVP level good and won the MVP because of it. And he loses a lot of playoff games pretty consistently. I mean, he just doesn't win them. Doesn't win them. So I don't know what to say about him. But other than that, every time we look up, Baltimore makes a pick or does something, and you end up going, well, that's smart. That's a really good move. I feel like we've said that a million times about Baltimore, where something happens, we're like, oh, yeah, I see what you're doing there. That's good. That's good. It pisses me off. And I don't have anything against Baltimore. It's just like, well, God, dog it, guys. You get it right every time. For those that don't know, they took Kyle Hamilton, who falls to 14 somehow. Dude's the best safety in the draft by a lot, maybe one of the best 3 defensive players in the draft. I don't think maybe, he probably is. And then they get the center out of Iowa, and there's never been a bad offensive lineman out of Iowa. So there you go, another great pick. And they traded to get another pick. They accrued picks with the trade that they made, so they stockpiled in the middle part of the draft, which is what you were talking about, where they didn't really have picks. So now they have some. Damn it, man. They did it again.
Yeah, objectively, they do it more times. I mean, like 8 out of 9 drafts, I feel like it's been where you're like, man, Baltimore's doing some things. And that's true. But I think it's also true that those uniforms are so badass that when you envision any player in those uniforms, like, that's going to work. That's going to work.
Yeah, you might be right.
He's going to look really good in that uniform. Everybody does. Everybody looks great in that uniform.
They're regal.
Yes.
They're regal. They are. They look great. Yeah, and I wouldn't say that about purple, but it's a good purple for them with the black. It's a good look. Yeah, you're not wrong. Okay, so I mentioned this a moment ago at the end of the last segment. And actually, let's save it. Okay, sorry, a double tease, everybody. A double tease on a Friday. It's loosey-goosey.
They call that a greenie.
The double tease?
Yes, at ESPN Greenie for the double tease. Yeah.
The double tease it is. And when we come back, I'll get to it because I do want to talk about Isaiah Wong. Why do you want to talk about Isaiah Wong? I just do. No, there's a reason. It has to do with transfer portal and NIL and the daily subject matter that is transfer portal and NIL. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
On first-degree murder and armed robbery charges after body was found outside a residence on April 13th. 19-year-old Rashard McBridge of Fort Myers and 19-year-old Illa Gaines of Tallahassee were arrested. The death investigation began after Havana police officers responded to a residence and found a man's body in a vehicle. Officers determined the victim had driven the suspects to the residence. Upon arriving, an altercation occurred, and the suspect shot the victim multiple times, resulting in his death. Both men were placed under a no-bond status pending the first court appearance. A Liberty County man was arrested on child abuse charges Tuesday afternoon following a brief standoff with deputies. Deputies responded to an area behind Lake Mystic Church to arrest Shane Fisher after his bond was revoked. Fisher had barricaded himself in the building. After a brief standoff, he surrendered himself peacefully. Fisher faces multiple charges of child abuse, battery, and resisting officers without violence. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly cloudy this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 85. Southeast winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy tonight, 65. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Chance for scattered storms. High temperatures reach up to 83. Mid-80s Sunday with a chance for scattered thunderstorms. Upper 80s, a mix of clouds and sun Monday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 82.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
goodness.
Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show is sponsored by the legendary team at Ham.
Cameron Show on a Libation. It's Friday. Thanks for tuning to it. Like and subscribe if you're watching on Warchant TV. Celebrate, raise your fist in the air if you're driving down the road listening on 93.3. There, everybody just raised their fist. Yay! We're listening to JCS. Yay! All right, here we go. I mentioned the NIL a moment ago and why we're bringing it back up. Well, lots of reasons. Yesterday's conversation with David Hale was good. Go find it. Go listen to it. Go share it. Celebrate it. Raise your fist to it. Miami guard Isaiah Wong. We all know Isaiah Wong. They had an Elite 8 run this year, did the Canes. Their team averages 37 years of age, all NBA, guys with pot bellies, balding, mortgages, children. It was remarkable. Wong was, widely considered to be one of the key members of that team. He has told the Canes that he wants a raise. I mean, that's the right way to say that, right? He has told the Canes, I want a raise. I want more money. And that is bizarre and fun to talk about. It is very, very strange. Basically, if his NIL deal is not increased, his NIL agent said he will head to the transfer portal today unless he gets more NIL money. So we're in a situation where a player has demanded a raise and he's playing in college, which is already weird. It's a new tactic in the NIL world. Wong is going through the NBA draft evaluation process. He wants to stay in college because you know why he wants to stay in college. He's not projected to go nearly as high as he would want. And so he knows he's of great value in college. He is a very good college basketball player. And Miami might be willing to listen to this. Now, what's interesting is John Ruiz, Tom, is the billionaire, of course, who has signed more than 100 Miami Hurricane athletes to NIL deals. One of those deals was for Isaiah Wong. So he's already paying Isaiah Wong.
Yep.
And he has come out and said publicly, there are no renegotiations. You're not getting any more money out of me. Now, you may be able to get NIL money out of some other guy, but it ain't going to be me. So we have a standoff. We have a standoff over NIL money in college. This is crazy.
It is. And it felt like a fake tweet because it was circulating last night during the draft. and it was our buddy Chris. He showed me his phone, and I'm looking at this tweet, and I've never seen at Draft Express. I'm not a huge NBA draft guy, so Jonathan Gavoni is not somebody that's on my must-follow list. So I don't recognize the account. I see the check on it. But then you look at this tweet that's available now for the folks that are watching on Warchant TV, and just these words, Miami's Isaiah Wong, ... His agent, Adam Pappas, told ESPN. His agent, what?
Yeah, his NIL agent, yes.
Isaiah would like his NIL to reflect that he was a leader of an Elite Eight team. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I knew this, but I didn't really know it. There are agents for players now that are going to be contacting either the school, if in certain states, or the NIL group, or go public if bleep goes wrong, and they're going to say, my client needs to be paid. Oh my God, the leverage. This is just crazy. I thought it was fake. I really genuinely thought it was a fake tweet, and it's real. This is a real story. It's happening.
It's an important story, though. It's the first of its kind where we are publicly acknowledging that this is a thing. This isn't some backroom negotiation. This is a firm and a representative of said firm that is representing a collegiate athlete and is publicly grandstanding for more money because of the NCAA tournament run that the team his client plays for went on. And, look, first of all, you remember, I think Adam Rittenberg joined us one time and we were talking college basketball. I can't remember if it was him or somebody else. And he said, because we were talking about Sweet 16 appearances. And he said something to the extent of, well, look, I mean, it's impressive, especially if you piggyback 1 year to the next, to the next, to the next, and go to in succession the way that Florida State had Sweet 16, Sweet 16, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Sweet 16, that kind of thing. That's impressive. But any given individual season and a team goes to the Sweet 16, it's really not that big a deal. If you get the right matchup and you're a high enough seed, you won 2 games in all likelihood as a prohibitive favorite. So just going on a run doesn't mean you're really good. Just means you won against 2 teams that you probably should have beaten, right? Why do I bring that up? Well, it's not to lessen the Elite 8 run that Miami went on, which is very impressive. It's not it's not sour grapes. It's to say that they went one round beyond what a lot of people would say is whatever, right? It's like, so is this going to be a thing now? If you're at George Washington and you're the starting point guard and you're in year 5 because you stayed in college because you had no NBA option, and or you're going into your final year, let's say, and you take that team to the Sweet 16, are you going to come out and be like, I need some money? I got to have some money, everybody, even though you've got no NBA future? Like, I'm not saying Isaiah Wong has no NBA future, but it's not like he's a prohibited top 10 pick or anything like that.
Which is why he wants more money now. Which
yes.
is why I think it was Gary Parrish that might have been that interview.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Back in the day. That was for the Coaches in Literacy, if I recall. But it's just so crazy. Like, what did you learn in this situation? Okay. So I learned that agents can grandstand to the public now. I didn't know that was a thing. Now we know. I'm sure this has happened behind the scenes a bunch. I'm sure it's happened in Tallahassee on this football program at this point. Somebody's come. We already know. Somebody has come to Mike and said, where's my money? And maybe that guy's no longer on the team.
Yeah. Your money's wherever you are next because you ain't going to be here. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe show up and do what you're supposed to do and you'll get your money. But, that's something that's happening across the country. But if you're in the position of a Ruiz or somebody like him at a different school, never publicize how much money you're giving somebody else, number one. Because in pro sports, it's never look at somebody else's wallet. Don't be in their wallet. Go do what you're supposed to do. You're going to get your next contract. In college, no, man, let's use it in terms that we can understand from Florida State in the recent past. I'll go 10, 12 years ago to Von Stryker himself, Bjorn Werner.
My man.
He was a 3-star player, and he was a very motivated. He had a goal just to professionally get through football and use it as a tool so that he could retire. I remember meeting one of his friends in college because I was still just out of college, so I was in those circles. And it was just, he had a goal, he had a wife, and it's like, here's how I'm going to provide, and then I'm going to be out. Okay. Brandon Jenkins was a much higher rated recruit than Bjorn Werner. When Bjorn Werner comes and starts kicking ass, and it's not that Brandon Jenkins didn't up to his injury, but he starts kicking ass at the level of a Brandon Jenkins, Bjorn is going to be in the right as a 3-star player to say, I know that you guaranteed him money to get here. Now you got to pay me and maybe pay me more because I'm a better football player. And who's going to say no to that? Because I'll just go somewhere else. And you don't want me to go anywhere else. That's the reality of all of this. And you've got to be very careful how disclosed the amount of money you're paying players is to other players on your team, or else they're going to say, well, that dude had 2 interceptions last year. I had 4, and you gave him $150K. Well, then I'm at least worth $200K. Ruiz and others have to be very careful how much they publicize the money that they're throwing around to players.
It's crazy. What we're talking about is a contract holdout in college basketball. That is what this is. It's a contract holdout. You know, I bring this up every time we have the conversation, it seems, and I brought it up yesterday with David Hale. Even if you're for all of this, even if you know that the antiquated system that the NCAA operated under for eons was unfair to players, and it's not my opinion, that's Congress's opinion. It turned out to be true. They were shot down. It's the court's opinion. Every time the NCAA tried to fight something in court with the government, they got told, man, you don't want to push this because this is antitrust. This is not, you can't, no, you're going to lose. And they did lose. They did lose. That's how we got here. But admittedly, even if you're in the camp of it was wrong the way it was set up, we need to make radical changes to college athletics, we need to pay players, you can debate how much and when they should be paid and for how long and all that stuff. Okay, that's fine. You still didn't ever think you'd see the day where these things are the conversation, these are the talking points surrounding college basketball, college football, soon to be college baseball, I'm sure in some way. I don't know that there are too many Olympic sports where this is going to play, but it's not healthy in terms of like the way fans view college athletics. This isn't going to help. We're going to have some effing rules, man.
It's but who's going to be the one to lay those rules down? Because NIL isn't, as you can clearly see here in this story, it's not just a football issue. I mean, it's about any sport where, you're championship level and, you're locally famous or whatever. So it's not a college football czar that can fix this issue. They can fix maybe some transfer portal rules for football, or maybe salary caps, or coaching caps and recruiting, all that kind of stuff.
Windows and all that, yeah.
Some of the things that are being thrown out there in an article this week suggest that they're going to eliminate caps on the amount of staff members, which is just crazy. But that aside, college football can only solve so much. This is something that you need maybe a new body, a new governing body. That's not the NCAA. I don't know what the answer is. Nobody does, because this thing's going to keep spiraling out of control, and you're going to read what feels like dystopian pieces of literature. That tweet felt dystopian for college sports. I like that it's more honest. I just wonder how deep the rabbit hole goes, because I don't think we're even close to done.
Well, one thing that happened very quickly that I am happy about is something we theorized, and I think most reasonable people did when they started realizing what this truly was. NIL, as we found out, was not necessarily for guys that had come here, played 2 years, played really well, and then now they get some money because they've done good by the university and they need something beyond their scholarship. What NIL has become is what it is said to not be, which is inducements. That's what it is. It's an inducement for people to come and or stay. That is the only that's what it is. And it's not about whether or not the NIL deal that you sign with the car company in Miami or whatever it is, whether or not you provide anything for that company. Like, you can stand out there and wave or do whatever the hell you're going to do, but nobody's buying a car because Isaiah Wong is telling everybody he's going to be at the Jeep dealership in, Rosdale. I mean, that's not nobody. He's of zero significance, really, virtually to everybody but his family. He's of zero. Who is going to pay that man? Who? Like, I'm never going to begrudge somebody their money. You get yours. And if he gets it, great. But seriously, I can see why Ruiz and everybody else would be like, dude, you're Isaiah Wong. There are 5 people that attend Miami basketball games. 5. I know all 5. That's it. Nobody cares. Nobody.
Well, at the risk of sounding like Corey Clark making a terrible joke here, he's not Isaiah wrong, though, in this case. Because here's why. If he's producing more and this kid's got $400K to come from K-State to play down in Miami, and he's not making $400K, in this weird world that we live in, he's got a point. Now,
he's got a point, but what's going to happen is Well, I don't know what's going to happen on this particular case, but the majority of the time, if a kid is of Isaiah Wong status, which is to say, whatever, and he decides he wants a lot of money, people are going to go, yeah, great, leave. I don't care. I'm not giving you any money. You play a sport that nobody down here cares about. Nobody. Miami fans don't even care. Stop it. I don't know. It's just strange to me. The market will dictate. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying.
It will. Oh, it certainly will. But I just wonder, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and the problem is this conversation is very repetitive, but it also there's new chapters to it each and every day, and sometimes during the first round of the NFL draft. But I wonder if the model, just if I can for a moment pound the chest, that I suggested 10 years ago might actually end up being the thing, because it ain't cheap to go to Miami either. So you're covering the scholarship of an out-of-state kid from Kansas, plus you're giving him $400K. Like, what's the out-of-state tuition to go to Miami unless he finds a residency loophole? Like 30 grand, 40 grand a year? I mean, it's a private institution. So that's a lot of money on top of the $400K and the car and who knows whatever flat they put him up in on the beach or whatever. But I wonder if at some point universities are going to say, you choose between these two paths because we're not going to pay you twice. In one way, we're paying you for the education. In the other way, we're literally paying you money. You got to choose because we can't keep doing this. The fund's not even for Ruiz. This can't exist 10 years from now because the market every year only goes up. People get more expensive it's not just inflation. That's just the cost of doing business. Look at free agency and major pro sports. Every year you're setting new benchmarks. Jimmy Garoppolo was the highest paid quarterback in history like 2 off seasons ago. And now what are you going to do if you're Ruiz 2 years from now and the next transfer you want for Miami basketball is on the market? You're not paying him $400K. You're paying him $600,000, $750,000, or here comes Kansas for $800,000. It's just it's unsustainable. I put it on maybe 2.5 years like this, but it might go a couple of years. I'm
going to say under. I think it'll be less than 2.5 years. I think about 1.5 years. I think next year at this time, people are going to be like, okay, now what are we doing? They're already doing it. When Isaiah Wong is demanding $500-600, Isaiah Wong, can we stop already and say that out loud again? You're Isaiah Wong. Nope. Hour number 2 forthcoming. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Responsive solution that would charge you a fraction of the big national payroll companies. Sound too good to be true? It's not. North Florida Payroll Services is Tallahassee owned for nearly 15 years. And in that time, their prices have never changed. The reason North Florida Payroll Services can do that? Exceptional customer service that constantly evolves with the latest technology. From application to termination, for turnkey service for your payroll and HR services, trust a Tallahassee expert and save yourself time and money. North Florida Payroll Services. Online at northfloridapayroll.com.
Matt, when you think of a successful Southern cookout, what do you think of first?
The food, of course.
The food, but you got to think about the food prep. And Hearth and Patio has thought about that with their awesome grills.
What kind of grills?
Fire Magic, Broil Master, Blaze Grills, Kamado Joe. Matt, they got it all.
Wow.
Custom outdoor kitchens. Create an outdoor cooking space.
You'll be the envy of your neighborhood.
You will be the envy of your neighborhood, and you'll make a lot of people jealous. That's because you called Hearth and Patio at 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit Hearth and Patio online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
It's a backyard barbecue party. Let's Lee Holcomb's number one more time.
850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. For Hearth and Patio, they not only keep the home fires burning, Hearth and Patio will elevate your grilling game.
Nice.
Nice indeed.
Here we go. It's time for a chance to grow your green and win $1,000 cash plus a shot at a $10,000 grand prize. Here's your new keyword.
Bend. B-E-N-D, BEND, B-E-N-D, BEND.
Enter that word now at realtalk93.com, and you might be the next winner.
Holy cow, thank you. Oh my God. I just won $1,000. Hey, this is Monica. Hey, this is Elizabeth, and I just won $1,000. All right.
More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next after this town hall news break on WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The Ukrainian president is slamming Russia for attacking Kyiv during a UN visit.
President Zelensky says this move requires corresponding powerful reaction. This came as the focus of the war moved to the east, where Ukrainian forces continue to effort secure and safe passages for residents to evacuate Mariupol. Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine has also seen heavy fighting. In Liman, 57-year-old Tatiana Matsegora's house was attacked by Russian forces as they advanced to Donbass. Her 14-year-old grandson was killed. Please don't close your eyes. I beg you, don't close your eyes, she said as her grandson was taken to hospital. The UN leader has strongly condemned the attacks. I'm Naomi Shannon.
Also at townhall.com, the Food and Drug Administration setting tentative dates in June to publicly review COVID-19 vaccines for the youngest American children. The FDA will review applications from Moderna and Pfizer for vaccines in tots and babies. The government reporting a sharp rise in consumer prices as well as employee pay.
The Commerce Department reports that prices for consumer goods and services were up 6.6% in March compared to prices paid a year ago. It's the largest year-to-year jump in 40 years and evidence that inflation continues to put pressure on Americans' household budgets. While core prices rose just 5.2%, energy prices have soared 34% since last year, and food is up 9.2%. Consumers increased their spending by 1.1% last year as well, most of that going towards higher prices for necessities. Gloom has gripped public opinion as inflation has accelerated. About a third of respondents to a Gallup poll released this week cited inflation as the most important financial problem their family faces. Jennifer King, Washington.
Stocks remain sharply lower. The Dow is down 571 points. More at townhall.com.
Make a difference in your life that impacts you for years to come by traveling to Israel this year. Sign up today for the thrill and excitement of visiting the Holy Land this November with nationally syndicated media host Dr. Sebastian Gorka and renowned author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. Visit standwithisraeltour.com for details and to register. On the tour, you'll step into history with mouth-watering cuisine, picturesque scenes, and magnificent people, while visiting over 40 iconic sites and sacred places you've only read and heard about for years. Pray at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, float in the mineral-rich Dead Sea, and take a boat onto the middle of the Sea of Galilee as you experience something transforming in your life. Call 855-565-5519 to reserve your spot. Again, visit standwithisraeltour.com to book your trip today.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com for better style, quality, and design. Go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Happy Libations Friday, everybody. A little loosey-goosey from the hizzy. Oh, you see that little extra doodabber there on the end. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. Thanks for listening, everybody. Let's see what happens this weekend with Florida State, obviously, as big series in baseball, Tom. Plus, we're all waiting to find out what the deal is with the transfer portal stuff. Today's show was recorded just before we came on the air. So like right up until the moment we were coming on, we were recording this show. So it's not that dated. It's like an hour dated. It's an hour. So, you don't have to roll your eyes. You stay right here with us. You like and you subscribe and you share. You do all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm curious about both the baseball team. Curious to see what happens with the transfer portal. Next week will be a busy week. I'm excited about that too. With an opportunity to see who Florida State targets once all the names are available. And obviously there are needs to fill. And I think we're going to be aggressively pursuing some kids that maybe fit that role.
Yeah, one change I think that's coming to the world of the transfer portal is that there are going to be more defined terms of what the window is going to be this time. The calendar year of 2023 is going to be more refined that way. And I think in a way, it's not going to be covered like signing day is, or the old signing day used to be. But for every team site, they're going to have a master list. I mean, or every network site like Rivals is going to put together a master list of here is the groceries that you're the ingredients that you can bring to your program. The, definitive offensive line. There's like 75 names. All right, good. Let me see. Like this guy, like, ooh, look at that site.
Right.
It's going to be its own little holiday thing. This year it's kind of sort of, but we'll see on Monday and Tuesday as we get to look at the breadth of who's available on warchant.com and Warchant TV. We'll be talking about it. And then there are going to be kids that we get attached to that we've never seen play it down because their Pro Football Focus grade says they're good, or because, there's a scout out there who you've never heard of before says that's a good player. We're going to go through that in the next month. It's going to be a fun ride.
Draft took place last night. We watched it at Bumpa's Local 349. Thanks to everybody who came out, and thanks to Bumpa's. Trayvon Walker goes number 1 to the Jags. Safe pick for the Jags there. Good football player. We assume he'll be a good football player for them. Aiden Hutchinson goes number 2. Of course, he played his college ball at Michigan. Detroit was selecting. Seems to make sense. They take him at 2. Then it's Derek Stingley Jr., Sauce Gardner, and Kayvon Thibodeau. Our own Jermaine Johnson had to wait a little while, unfortunately, for him, but I think he may have ended up in a pretty cool situation. For starters, if you're a young man, a professional athlete, good-looking young man, and you get to go to the city of New York as you are freshly minted a millionaire, that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
That doesn't suck. So good on you to Jermaine Johnson. But now for the football. The Jets look like they have some things going for them. We talked about it last hour. I think that this could turn out to be much better than if you had just said to me before the draft, hey, man, Jermaine Johnson, our boy, is going to go to the Jets. After seeing their draft last night, knowing what they already have on the roster, what's still to come today and tomorrow, obviously, as we go through the overall draft, I don't know, man. I think this could end up okay 4 years from now for him.
It's a nice way to end the story to this point, because I remember when my first assignment with Warchant, I was up at Charlotte covering ACC kickoff, and Jermaine Johnson was one of the players that was up there for interviews. And, the story was known, but still the local beat has to ask him some of those same questions about him being at Last Chance U and being a JUCO player. And he said, I didn't even know where I was. Like, I'm from Minnesota, but this is the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. So to go from the middle of nowhere to Athens, to Tallahassee, and then up the coast to New York, that's pretty cool because you're in the middle of everything. You're not in the middle of nowhere. You're in the middle of everything. You might play your games in Jersey, but you can go into the city and do whatever the hell you want. Go catch a show, go watch some of the most amazing sporting events in the world or best concerts in the world. It's just kind of cool how life is for some people, and we're very lucky ourselves. But in 5 years' time, he's from a podunk town that, they might have like a Walmart. And now there he is in the metropolis in the
Broadway.
Country. It's really cool.
Also, it's a reminder, and I think a lot of people know this, but he's a very specific reminder of how sometimes, just depending on where you're from or your maturity level, which is constantly changing, how they don't always marry to produce the right result coming out of high school. And that a short amount of time later, you can find out so many things about a guy that if you had just judged a book by its cover, meaning how did a player end up at a JUCO to begin with? Meaning, how is this guy at Last Chance U? How, all of that, right? Well, then you meet him and you talk to him and you think, well, he's really smart. He's very charismatic. He's got great leadership qualities. How did he end up there? Like, you're asking yourself that, right? I asked that very question to Jermaine Johnson the first time I met him because I was struck by his intelligence. I was struck, not that I don't think, I'm not one of these guys that don't think athletes can be smart. Most of them are a lot smarter than people realize. What I'm saying is, given that he came from a JUCO, given that he was on Last Chance U, given, all that, I was like, how did he end up at a JUCO? And he said, well, I just didn't like school. I didn't care. I didn't care when I was in school. I hated it. And I didn't take tests well because I didn't care to study. And I just guessed. Like, what? I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, I did whatever I needed to do to stay eligible, but I really didn't try. I didn't care. I knew I was smart. I just didn't care. That's interesting, right? And it goes to show you that, a lot of times we think let's say you get a guy from a JUCO. I know we got him from Georgia, but I'm saying, like, let's say when Florida State's brought in plenty of JUCOs, you're always saying, understandably so, he's at a JUCO for a reason. I'm a little concerned. A lot of times you have reason to be concerned, but not everybody's like that. And Jermaine Johnson going in the first round is a testament to due diligence, hard work, and a change and shift in attitude where he took on the responsibilities that he had shirked early on for God knows what reasons. I don't know what his childhood was like. I'm not trying to besmirch him or his family or anything like that. I'm just saying, who knows why he didn't get the guidance he needed when he was in high school to bother to try.
And look at this. So this is Austin's story on warchant.com. But when I was scrolling through it today, I had to pause at this point, and you'll see it. 2 stars. I mean, listen, I'm not the guy who's like, give me all the 3 stars who try hard because you're going to be a better. No, stars matter. They matter greatly. But sometimes the services just straight whiff, or they don't actually look at your film. A 2-star in Rivals from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It's just unbelievable to think that he goes from that position to where he is now. But it puts it all in perspective for me. I was reading the story of the quotes from Sala and Jermaine Johnson. And I encourage you to head to warchant.com and read that story. But I just had to stop at that graphic because by the time he was a JUCO prospect and they updated his rating in 2019, look at that. There's 2 more stars that appear up. Yeah, you think? That dude was immediately somebody that you picked out in spring practice the first day that we saw spring practice the year he was on campus. We're like, oh my God, if that guy can play anything close to the way he looks, then he's going to be a good player for us. Well, he played better than he looked on the field just by getting off the bus or walking onto the practice fields. He was a force. He'll be tough to replace, but it's just, again, I have a hard time not feeling that big perspective thing for him today because he was motivated as hell. Maybe not in high school, but he figured it out afterwards that this is what I need to do, and he attacked that goal, and he achieved the goal.
Yeah, and good job to the coaching staff for getting all of that out of him as well, recognizing now, listen, he is a self-starter. He is a guy who put in the time. All of those things are true. But this coaching staff became very relatable to him. He's a guy that talked about how Norvell told him not what he wanted to hear, but what he needed to hear, and that he challenged him. So it's clear that Norvell and his staff, they've been weak in some areas, obviously, but they've been strong in some areas. And one of them is, I think, an unwavering and really unapologetic way in which they evaluate and talk to transfer portal candidates. They never seem to do the easy thing, which is to tell a kid who is a player at a position of great need, let's say for us, to tell that kid, hey, you're going to play. Come on in here, you're going to play. That's not how that conversation goes. It's assumed that if we're reaching out to you that we have a need. So that's a given. But the way Norvell treats that is like, yeah, of course, I'm calling you for a reason. I mean, this is a transaction. I need you to play good football for me, and I need to win games. So, we get this, and then we can help you get to the next level. But we're holding up our end of the bargain. That's what that shows there. The kid comes in, works real hard, becomes an unquestioned leader, produces, elevates his status, goes in the first round of the draft. It's another win for Florida State, and it's a great win for him.
Yeah, it's something that David Hale said yesterday, and it's worth emphasizing because we lament a lot of the things and a lot of the changes that are coming to college sports and have already arrived, and then some. But the transfer portal can work. It can work big time.
Big
And
time.
this is a success story. They're not all going to work like this. Most of them won't. In fact, you look at the studies of how many kids enter the portal from all different sports in the first year, and it's thousands and thousands of kids, and about half of them never find another home, which is just unbelievably sad. And it's also dumb. It's a dumb decision to make. But for some kids, what would he have done? He would have had maybe 5 or 6 sacks with Georgia this year, won a national title, would have been great. I don't think he would have been the 6th Georgia defensive player to be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft this year. There's not enough reps for him.
Right.
So it can work. It does work at times. And this is one of if you're going to have a book of success stories in the transfer portal, Jermaine Johnson's has to be, in the brief history of it, at the top of the list.
Let's go through the other, marquee moments of the draft from last night. Obviously, we celebrate Jermaine's successes. We talked last hour quite a bit about the draft. Just to touch on it here for those just joining us in hour number 2, only one quarterback was taken. That was Pitt's Kenny Pickett, going to the hometown Steelers. Good for him. I've been on Pitt's campus, and I know just how close it is to Heinz Field, so he doesn't have to do much. It's a short hop, skip, and a jump for him. Good stuff. Obviously, the trades were a big part of last night's draft. With Marquis Brown, Hollywood Brown being traded to the Cardinals by the Ravens for the 23rd pick. That angered Lamar Jackson, who was disingenuous with his anger because he knew the trade was coming. And, by the way, Marquis Brown wanted out. I touched on that in the first hour. But here are the number of trades, and I thought this was fascinating. The Texans traded the number 13th overall pick to the Eagles in exchange for the 15th, 124th, 162nd, and 166th pick. Ravens, I already mentioned Marquis Brown, Hollywood Brown, and the 100th overall pick to the Cardinals for the 23rd pick. The Titans, A.J. Brown, that was a huge deal, going to the Eagles for picks number 18 and 101. They brought in a clone in Traylon Burks, a lot of people think, certainly a comp. The Patriots traded the pick number 21 to the Chiefs for pick 29, 94, and 121. Bills sent pick number 25 and 130 to the Ravens for 23. On down the line, the Buccaneers sent pick number 27 to the Jags for 33, 106, and 180, Tom. So we got 3 picks out of that deal. Also, circling back really quickly to something pretty funny. The Patriots, for all their success over the years and for the greatness that is Bill Belichick, they really do often screw up the draft. Yeah. They really find ways to just butcher the draft. And I thought this was a hilarious story that came out later on, which is to say that Cole Strange, who went number 29 to the Patriots, a lot of people thought he might be a 3rd-round pick, Tom. There is a funny video you can find of Rams coach Sean McVay. The Rams liked Cole Strange, and they were thinking about taking him in the 3rd round. And they thought he would be there. And he turned to the camera after Cole Strange went to the Patriots at 29 and went, "We thought he might be there at 104.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they started laughing. It looked like they were having a good time at the War Room last night, too.
Well, defending Super Bowl champs, yeah.
What's funny is I'm like your mom now in terms of I can't stand that guy. The smug look on his face. Are you kidding? You couldn't score a touchdown on him in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. So,
right.
Well, but at the same time, it's amazing how arrogant or, blind you can be to some weaknesses, even though you're great everywhere else. Like if I'm Bill Belichick 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I find a way to get Ozzie out of friggin' Baltimore because of what we talked about last hour, which is they always nail it. Like, name your price, man. We work together in Cleveland. Name your price and run the draft for me because you give me anybody with talent, people you've never heard of. I'm going to win 8 games, at least, probably 10. I'm going to find a way. It's just crazy that with all the picks, remember, about 4 or 5 years ago, all the stockpiles of picks, and you're like, oh, man, Brady and the Patriots are just going to reload. They've got 9 picks, top 50 over the next 2 drafts, and none of them materialized. It's just crazy how bad they are at it.
A lot of projections over the next couple of hours as we lead up to, not on this show, but a lot of day 2 draft projections have the Buccaneers taking Logan Hall. That's the defensive lineman out of Houston. You and I haven't seen a lot of Houston play, but everything you read about Logan Hall is that he is upwardly mobile on the list of a lot of people drafting today because of a versatility aspect to his game. He can play inside, Tom. He can play outside. I can't, and all Bucs fans will debate this right now. We have a need at that position. We also have a need at linebacker, and Nakobe Dean is on the board. And the Bucs are interested in Nakobe Dean. He's one of the linebackers they had circled. Which of the two players do you want?
Probably the lineman. Again, I'm not pissed off with whoever they take. This is a strange year. We always have opinions. We're elated or just dejected the Quentin Nelson year, even though we got Vita. In that moment, it didn't feel great. I like the versatility of the defensive line. If you can have Sue re-sign, Brady's restructure frees up the money to do that. So you bring him and Vita. You give them rest in a 17-game season, which is really valuable to both players. And then if you've got sub-packages against run-first teams or it's third and long, you can mess around with the front four. I love those options because those things typically work. But I could also, be talked into if I hear Nakobe Dean's name, I'm not going to say, damn it. I'm going to say, okay. The only thing that I have pause about with Nakobe Dean is he was told not to run the 40. And the 40 is not the be-all, end-all, but he was told not to run the 40 because apparently his time would be somewhere in the high 4.6s to low 4.7s. That's alarmingly slow in an era where 270-pound dudes can run better and 300-pound dudes sometimes can run better than a 4.7 40. It's a freaky world we live in, and I just wonder if the speed limitation is going to be a limiting factor to Nakobe Dean's professional success. But if they took him, he is clearly football fast. I wouldn't be pissed. So the answer is all of the above. I'll take any of them.
I have a rule of thumb. I exercised that rule when I was begging us to draft linebacker. You recall, we talked about it with White, and I said basically, if you are an elite performer at linebacker in the SEC, I don't care what your tests are. I don't care if you run a 5.9 40 and you bench 140 pounds and you have a 6-inch vertical, because the football games played at the highest level with the greatest depth of talent the country has to offer, the most amount of speed, and the elite level of competitiveness every Saturday. The football games told us that he was an elite linebacker. And Nakobe Dean played on the best defense we've ever seen possibly in college football and was an unquestioned leader of that defense and made play after play after play and played really fast against the fastest of the fastest. So I just think he can play, man. Now if he were coming out of Utah or he were coming out of Minnesota or something like that, I would be like, well, man, I don't know. A little shaky. But, dude, Georgia played somebody good every week. He's been great for a long time.
They did, and his brain will make up for that step. That's what they're telling you, basically, is that defense is so complex with all the fits and schemes and all the things they're doing that you have to know your P's and Q's. And in the NFL, it's usually about film study to put you and anticipate something more than it's anything else. But I will make the counter argument, even though I'm good with Nakobe Dean if they draft him, but I will play devil's advocate for one more argument. He'll never see a front four like that overmatch an offensive line at the NFL level.
Yeah, that is the counter, is that he played behind the world's largest human being that also is fast and crazy and occupies huge space. But you know what I say? Every very productive linebacker in the NFL is clean. There are no linebackers. Like Ray Lewis was an elite linebacker. He was clean. Nobody could get out to him because their defensive front was huge. Saragusa and those guys covered everybody up. Nobody ever got to Ray Lewis, so he could run sideline to sideline. I'm not saying Nakobe Dean is Ray Lewis, but if you think about Devin White, look what he has in front of him. Most of the time he's clean. He's free to run.
Yeah, Peter Boulware for the Ravens helped out Ray Lewis, and then our own Derek Brooks in Tampa, the front four in Tampa. There are some guys that we don't even talk about anymore, like a Chidi Ahanatu. When he first came into the NFL, Chidi was excellent with Sapp, paving the way. Booger McFarland was there as well. Yeah. Greg Spires, and of course Simeon Rice. But yeah, you're right. You need to be clean to make plays. And again, if they draft him, that's fine. I remember him as a recruit. That was Willie's first year, and Mom loved everything about Florida State. Then the Virginia Tech game happened. But he was a recruit that I remember really wanting to have. And I'm starting to get to a place, especially now that we work with warchant.com, where as you follow the recruiting stories and you start to connect to a kid, even though you might go to a rival or wherever, there's always an eye like, I wonder if the Bucks could get him, because it would be kind of cool to have that guy on my team. Nakobe Dean, that particular recruiting cycle, was the player I thought, please God, because linebacker has been an issue here. It still is a quasi issue here. But yeah, if he's the guy, great. If he's not, whatever. I think that, also you should look at the possibility of a trade. If somebody wants him or any other player like a Malik Willis or whoever that much, trade back and acquire more assets. You're going to need a lot of help in 3 or 4 years with this organization. So the more picks you have, the better.
Real quick on the local teams, obviously the Jags kind of did what a lot of people thought they would do in taking Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. Fine. I mean, it's hard to quibble with that. Rarely do we weigh into the extent that we think that somebody is unequivocally going to be a bust for where they're drafted, unless we have strong feelings. Usually they're about quarterbacks. I did raise an eyebrow at the Falcons, if I'm going to pivot to the next sort of local team, with Drake London going 8th overall. Of the receivers that were available all there at that time, Jamison Williams, Garrett Wilson were available at that point. I don't understand that pick. Now, he's a big receiver, so maybe down the line we're saying, hey, you pair him with Pitts, and it's a good, if you're a small team, you got a problem facing Atlanta. But I was kind of surprised. I felt like a reach.
It felt like somebody you could trade back to 15 or 20 and still go get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because where did Olave go? Olave went after, right? The Saints trade was, 4 or 5 spots later? Like, if he's not off the board, then why are you rushing to pick London? That was a good pick for New Orleans, sadly. That was a good move by them.
Olave went to New Orleans at 11. Basically, what happened was after Drake London went, everybody went, oh, here come the receivers, because obviously Seattle took an offensive lineman, but then it's the Jets taking Garrett Wilson, another great pick for the Jets, who had to be elated that he was there. I think they were probably surprised what Atlanta did. And then New Orleans is like, wait a minute, Chris Olave is still available? All right. So then Jamison Williams right after that to Detroit. Now, that's a really good pick for Detroit, by the way. That's kind of the underrated, sneaky pick of the night in a way. I'm a huge Williams fan, and I've said that a lot. I thought he might be there when Tampa drafted. So for Detroit to get him where he did, that was a good pick.
Yeah, and to get the hometown kid at 2. The graphic for the pick is in couldn't have been faster. If you noticed on both television broadcasts, it was like, here's the announcement about Walker, and it's like the pick is in. Like, yep, there you go. We got our Michigan guy, and then you got a receiver. They're always rebuilding. They're like the U in Detroit, except they never had the VHS days. They had Barry Sanders, and that's it. But they're always reloading. But I feel like they had a good draft, and I'd like to see them be good at some point. At some point, I thought last night was a step in the right direction. And if it worked for that crazy-ass coach, that'd be really cool, too, because he's fun to watch.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV on Libations Friday. Come back, we'll do it some more here in a moment. That's what puts the Hamilton Home Loans experience in a category all their own. If you're buying or refinancing a home, Hamilton Home Loans will provide a personalized mortgage experience that is dedicated to making the process refreshingly simple. It all begins with an initial consultation with an experienced Hamilton Home Loans advisor to find out what your goals are in order to find the right mortgage to suit your specific needs. Then, your personal home loan advisor will take you through all the steps from application, underwriting, approval, and closing, all the way to the front steps of your new home. Once you've experienced the Hamilton Home Loan process, you can be a customer for life and never have to pay lender fees again. For first responders, nurses, physician assistants, teachers, active and retired military, ask about the Hamilton for Heroes program. Personalized attention with your needs put first. Now that's refreshingly simple. Find out more at HamiltonHomeLoans.com. That's HamiltonHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 200719. Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
This is an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee. A few months ago, I asked you to contact your legislators to help stop the skyrocketing property insurance rates in Florida. Other states average 2 lawsuits per day on property insurance claims. Florida has 384 per day. The property owners of Florida are being taken advantage of, but it is not by the insurance companies. The companies are paying out 10 times the cost of a claim or more that would have been paid anyway. People are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, suggesting that the property owner may have some damage. The property owner innocently signs something that turns all control of any claim settlement to an attorney that becomes the person designated to get the claim check and who controls the disbursement of the claim payment. If we want these rates to go down, we must reach out to our legislators and let them know how unaffordable home insurance has become and that we want them to support reform that will fix the issues. This has been an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee.
Dirty exterior? Don't scrub it. Wet it and forget it. Wet and Forget, the easy outdoor cleaner. Wet and Forget works over time with Mother Nature to eliminate unsightly black and green stains on the exterior of your home with no scrubbing, power washing, or bleach. Use Wet and Forget on all your outdoor surfaces, including decks, siding, roofs, and patios. Wet and Forget's available in a concentrate or extreme reach hose-in. Purchase Wet and Forget in store or online at Lowe's, Menards, Ace, or Walmart.
Angie's List is now Angie, your home for everything home. With Angie, you could cross your next project off your to-do list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, and we'll handle the rest. Sending a top pro to get it done. Or browse reviews, compare quotes from pros, and connect instantly. All for free. For everything from routine maintenance to a dream remodel. Because however you want your project done, we'll get it done. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is sponsored by the legendary team at Hamilton Home Loans. Great rates, cutting-edge technology, and transparent communication is the recipe for a 5-star mortgage experience at FSUHomeLoans.com.
So today, we'll sit down with a tasty beverage and we'll watch some more football draft, shall we? And it's never boring to me. By the way, the Bucks didn't get either one of the offensive linemen that we wanted. Kenyon Green from Texas A&M went pretty quick, and right after that, Zion Johnson at 17 went to the Chargers. Nice pick there. It makes a lot of sense when you have Justin Herbert to go out and get you an offensive lineman. So well done there. I think when we were talking about day two, the highlights are going to be the quarterbacks and when do they go. And you know what I think is funny, Tom? You and I have serious doubts about Malik Willis. Now, I don't root against Malik Willis. I don't know Malik Willis. I did watch him play. We saw Liberty. We saw the game against Syracuse, etc. He never impressed me. I was never impressed. And so I have to admit that I'm not shocked he fell out of the first round. And according to certain reports this morning, there's a thought that the next quarterback taken will not be Malik Willis. It'll be Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, which I also would not select because I don't think he's any good. But, these quarterbacks, they leave a lot to be desired. But it would be something if you're Malik Willis's camp and Desmond Ridder goes in front of you. That'll hurt your feelings in a hurry.
It never made sense. It was akin to the kid out of UCLA whose name I've now officially forgotten that Todd McShay loved, the quarterback.
Yes.
Brett Hundley. There you go.
Who sucks.
It felt like that with Malik Willis. Now, the one thing I will say, because we're getting to a place where he's going to fall far enough that I'll defend him. His best throws are evil. Like, they're unbelievably good throws. So, if you're talking about a highlight reel, his best is freaky good. And his speed is also there. So he can be a weapon for you that if you're in a transitional phase of your franchise, you might be able to snake 8 or 9 wins with that guy because he's just a nightmare to match up with. but he's not a top 10 pick like some people were talking about for months on end. So I'm not stunned by that. If Ritter goes next, I'm not stunned by that either. Malik's got something to him, but I always thought that was terribly overblown. And it's proven to be so, because if there was any excuse that dude was any good at all, he would have gone in the first round in this draft. The competition at the position is nil. It's absolutely nil.
Yeah, I've said I think Pickett's got a chance to be a plus player in the league. Again, I'm not in love with him, but I think he's got a chance. I'm also very intrigued. You want to talk about the I have no idea quarterback in this draft? I have no idea. He could end up being a Pro Bowler, and we'd be talking about it years from now like, nobody really saw that coming. Or he could suck and be out of the league in 3 years. Matt Corral, and he'll get drafted today. He'll get drafted in the first 2 rounds. I mean, he's going to get drafted in the second round today. I think if he's sitting there when Atlanta drafts in the 40s, they'll take him. I mean, at some point you got to do that, right? So I don't know. I can't figure him out. There were days that I watched him play at Ole Miss, and I thought, wow, he's got all the throws. He's athletic. He can do a lot of things. And then other times I'm like, kind of pedestrian. I don't know with him. I wouldn't even pretend to know with him. I have no idea.
Yeah, I totally agree that he could be the guy 5 years from now. They're saying, what were they looking at? Matt Corral was clearly like, how did he go that late?
Right.
Because his best is more consistently good than Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis' best, again, the highlight throws are just breathtaking. But there were full games, really. That's the best dude in the field. That dude's electric. I agree with that. And if Atlanta took him, I'd be a little worried. I'd say, oh, man, it's not it's worth taking a shot, too, nowadays. I mean, you see guys like Josh Rosen and others after 1 year. I mean, Tua was borderline there, and they're sticking with him for one more season. But they're not as expensive as Sam Bradford used to be. You have to bring this up every year. It's not a 5-year killer to your franchise to take a swing at a quarterback, especially outside of the first round. You could experiment for a year or two, and if you're wrong, so what? So, yeah, they should. If you're an organization like the Falcons, it's a low-leverage chance. And if it works out, then you're still going to have a top 5 pick next year that you can use on a different need instead of quarterback.
Yeah, they pick at 43. A quarterback is likely to go with one of these first 4 picks in the second round. The Bucs have the first pick of the second round. They're either going to take the defensive lineman out of Houston or maybe Nakobe Dean in all likelihood. They could, I mean, as you noted, I think you're right. They could accrue more picks and trade down. We'll see. I kind of wanted to take Nakobe Dean or Logan Hall. So I hope they don't trade down, because if they do, they risk losing both those guys. And I want them to have one or the other. But somewhere around 35, the Titans may take Ryan Tannehill's replacement, right? That they're a team that could. And then when we get down, by the way, notice no running backs have gone, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think one.
I don't think so.
One or none. One or none. Yeah, last night.
Well, Breece Hall will go today, and he's really good. Yeah. I like Breece Hall a lot. Somebody will take him today, but that's interesting. And then finally, getting back to it, the Seahawks, we know, want to draft quarterbacks. So they draft at 40. Will they take Malik Willis? Will they take Matt Corral? Will they take Desmond Ridder? I don't know which of those will be available, but they're going to take a quarterback today.
Yeah, again, reiterating the same point, but if I'm a fan of those organizations and you draft a quarterback, like it's whatever. If it doesn't work out, the Bucs with Trask last year, like he might, who knows? The preseason this year, maybe he'll play a little bit. You can see a little bit more, but if it works, great. If it doesn't, it's not a complete anchor around the organization. So if you're the Seahawks or the Falcons today or any other team that really, really needs a quarterback, take a shot. Take a shot in the 40s or the 70s. Who cares? But for the contenders today. Again, I'm just looking at this point. Green Bay, I thought, had a decent night last night, but I'm looking as a Bucs fan. I'm looking at what the Rams are doing, maybe an outside shot what the 49ers are doing if they can get Deebo Samuel wrapped up, and maybe they could put that issue to bed because he did not get traded yesterday. So I don't think it's going to happen if it didn't happen by this point. Now I'm starting to look at how all of the other contenders, for one more ride with 12, how all the other contenders are building their empires and where they're getting better. And it's just amazing to me, after another year, one in which Devontae Adams was traded to Las Vegas, that the Packers still are not drafting a receiver in the first round because they had multiple picks and there were so many good receivers in that round. How does that happen?
It makes me smile because I love to think of the anger inside of Aaron Rodgers' heart It makes me smile. By the way, Florida State taking on TCU, a team that comes into Tallahassee having won 6 of their last 8 games, and some of those games in series are very impressive. TCU beat number 3 Oklahoma State. They also swept Texas Tech, who's a top 5 team. So they come in here playing really, really well. They are very patient. Florida State is going to have to pitch well. They do what Florida State used to do offensively. The Noles used to draw more walks, quite literally, more walks than any team in the country. And that put constant pressure on teams. It wasn't always pretty to watch. At-bats were long. They ended in strikeouts or walks, occasional home runs, those kinds of things. Now we don't walk all that much. We strike out a ton and we don't hit for power. It's a deadly trio. But that said, TCU does walk a lot. They're top 10 in the country. Now, Florida State's got arms that throw strikes, so something's got to give is my point. This will be very, very fascinating. But it's an important series for Florida State coming off the series loss to Clemson. Clemson's not a real good baseball team, and Florida State is kicking themselves as they go into the weekend because the truth is they should have won those games. Not just because they're the better team, but they were in position to win those games, and their bullpen failed them. So let's find out what happens this weekend. There is a shakeup in the rotation. Bryce Hubbard, Carson Montgomery flipping the starting roles to give Hubbard an extra day of rest. He was sick earlier in the week, so they want to give him that extra rest. So I'm intrigued by this weekend. I think it's an important weekend. I don't circle too many weekend series and say this is the one where they got to get right or this is where they better start showing me something. Sometimes you're up against it. Sometimes you worry. But as baseball does, it reminds you that you can't sink too much emotion or draw any one conclusion from a weekend series, good or bad. We just watched a spate of baseball in which Florida State was really good prior to being really bad. So I don't want to say that, but I do think it's important from an RPI standpoint if you want any chance at all to get on a run and bully your way into that top 8. It's unlikely. It doesn't seem like to me they will, but they do have a shot if they were to sweep here and sweep again next weekend. You could find yourself in that situation, or if you win 5 out of 6 or something like that, you really could.
Yeah, I think if you take 2 out of 3 from TCU and then 2 out of 3 from Miami in a couple weeks' time, I think that puts you in a serious conversation, as long as you don't fall on your face in the ACC tournament for a top 8 seed. But they're up against it for a 16 right now, to be a number 16. And if you lose 2 out of 3 to TCU, I mean, I'm going to rule out sweeping either way. But if you lose 2 out of 3 to TCU this weekend, now you have to beat Miami just to get back into the conversation for a top 16 seed, not a top 8. And TCU is a great RPI opportunity. It's just I'm getting to the point this year where I'm very frustrated that we still are turning to Scalaro to close out games, and it drives me nuts. I think the answer as your closer is starting on Saturday. Now, if he has a good start, he's going to get another one. Maybe you can find a role for Ross Dunn. I don't know, but I just want to miss more bats in games like this. I want to know that I can miss bats down the stretch. So even if we're up a run late, I will not be satisfied or comfortable in the slightest. This game, you got to get that 27th out before I start to rest on my laurels, short of it being 10-0 or something. But this is a huge weekend. And again, I think 2 out of those next 3 series with Miami and TCU, that's your path to getting back inside that conversation. Because as we talked about midweek, the gap between number 1 and number 3 in the RPI, at least on Boyd's World, is bigger than the gap between number 4 and number 19. So all of these teams, and TCU is in that conversation now, all these teams are so close together, you can be a separator in that argument if you take 2 out of 3 this weekend and you hold the fort down when Miami comes to town in 2 weeks.
Florida State comes in at the 19 spot if you trust Boyd's World, and I do because they get it right most of the time. They're at 19 in the RPI currently. They're behind Oregon, as you noted. If you're going to look at the ratings points or anything like that, Florida State is 0.5888. Oregon 0.589. Tied with Wofford of all teams, 0.89. You know, you go on down the list. So the point is, and there's Florida ahead of Florida State, but yeah, it is incremental.
Go all the way up to 4. I mean, it's this close. It's like 0.04, whatever it is, the distance. So again, these are critical games.
Win some damn ball games. Win some damn ball games, guys. This weekend and next, Do that. Take 4 of 6. You're in good shape. Come back, wrap it up momentarily. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Wrapping it up, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Libations Friday. It's been a fun, loosey-goosey, post-draft, pre, all the names are in the transfer portal box that you need to know, all that kind of day on the show. And hey, for good reason. We love the draft, and we love the fact that it leads right into what is now probably the most interesting time for Florida State recruiting that you're going to have, because these transfer portal guys matter greatly. I don't know. Maybe we get some big names coming here next week, Tom. I know we're going to be apprehensive to touch on them right away. We're all going to be like, maybe. That's how we're going to phrase everything. You guys will be annoyed. Like a kid's going to be wearing a Florida State hat with a Florida State shirt on, hugging Mike Norvell in a picture from campus by his locker with the name on it. And I'm going to go, I don't know. We'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. That's the also for somebody like Michael. It's not just the coaches that have to work a lot differently than in the past, and a lot more. So it'll be like, hey, Michael, is this guy getting on a plane and visiting? Because that's what it all comes down to. Once these names are there, you're going to see if it's a player of interest to Florida State. You can just go to their Twitter profile and see if our coaches are following him, because that tells you that the conversation has begun officially. There's been a reach out. But then is the guy going to get in a car and drive here, or get in a plane and come down here? That's what the next 2 weeks are going to be all about when it comes to Florida State football talk. Is we like this kid. Well, too bad. He's going to Knoxville. He's not visiting Tallahassee. He hasn't made a decision yet, but there's no plans for him to visit Tallahassee. Get ready for all those conversations. It's like, the stuff that we talk about in November and December for on-campus visits. Who gets the last visit? Well, it's about to get fired up again because people know coaches are desperate. I can save my program by, hitting a home run with 2 or 3 kids. That'll push me over that bowl eligibility or 8-win threshold. So it's about to get hot and heavy here once again.
It matters, and we will discuss it, talk about it, focus on it, and do everything that is required of us to obviously provide the information that you want. But I'm going to tell you my perspective on this is that while I'm watching and I know the importance that these kids represent to flipping a roster or kind of fulfilling a roster, nobody that's going to put their name in the portal that we are going to bring in is going to be as impactful as Mims would have been. And that's just the reality. Like, that's one final kick to the cojones there. Sorry. I just saw the graphic. Yeah. Nobody is going to be as impactful as he would have been. So because of that, forgive me if I'm like, you guys have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to have the conversation, but you guys have the conversation. I mean,
thanks. Yeah. Hey, I'll go back to I'm going to live in an alternate timeline where that whole thing
didn't happen.
Didn't break my heart, because a good guard can really change what this offensive line looks like. I know that a tackle is preferable, and it would have been wonderful.
Oh, yes, it would have. Yes.
People love to talk about multiverses now in these comic book movies. That's a fun multiverse. It would be fun to live in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a good guard in here, you're solidified in your front.
Give me an offensive lineman, any good one. I don't care what they play. I agree.
Yep.
Give me a good center. I'm all right with that too. I'm getting worried about Caden.
Yeah, well, that's, of all the players that we know about now, so maybe there'll be some new additions and everybody wants to, the new shiny car. But of the players that we know of that are on the team right now, I can't think of 1 or 2 players that I want to see more than Caden Lyles in fall camp to be able to understand what's the deal here. Like, is this guy going to be the guy or not? And it's going to be a critical, I guess camp will start maybe late July, early, just, August 1st or something, because the 27th being the first game. But by the time we get to August 10th, we're going to know. And I'm a little bit nervous.
I'm very nervous. That's why I said, give me any offensive lineman, multiple offensive linemen. Let's go ahead and throw some numbers at this problem. Our friends at North Florida Payroll Services, it's time to cue it up, Matthew. Let's make this thing happen. Let's go. Let's get to it. Tip the cap. It's time to talk some baseball with probables.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Padres, Pirates, Yu Darvish, Zach Thompson. Tom and I were in the car yesterday when the Pirates blew it in the 9th. Tom was trying to be nice by keeping the game on for me. And as soon as they announced who was coming in for the Pirates, which was not David Bednar, who is our closer, I said to Tom, we're going to blow this. And, not that you ever doubted, but you knew I knew my team. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's akin to the tone in your voice that I heard was me when for 5 years, and they re-signed him when Juris Familia would come in.
Oh,
and instead of a hit, it's like, here comes a 4-pitch walk, and then he's going to, ball 1, ball 2. Here comes the mound visit, and he's going to look like he's just working on his mechanics, and that's what you were squirming in your seat doing. And then your radio announcer yesterday said you hadn't given up multiple hits in an inning all day long.
I yelled at the radio. What are you doing?
It was 3 singles in a row. That's what happened next.
Oh, I was like, well, this is over. And they were all very hard hit singles, I might add. They weren't little bloops. They were.
You could tell on the radio. You could tell on if it makes the radio, that means that they hit the hell out of the ball. And those
yeah, well struck. Mariners, Marlins, Matt Brash, Elcier Hernandez, Red Sox, Orioles, Rich Hill, and TBD. We don't get too many TBDs these days. Astros, Blue Jays, Jose Urquidy, UC Kikuchi, Twins, Rays, Dylan Bundy, Corey Kluber, Phillies, and Mets. You and Director Matthew get to get after it this weekend. Aaron Nola and Tyler McGill.
So they play 13 times before the end of May. It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Get a little bet going. Angels, White Sox, Noah Syndergaard. It seems weird to say that out loud. By the way, Noah Syndergaard, Tom, 2-0 with a 2-1-2 so far for the Angels.
There you go. That's what I think of you, Noah.
That made me laugh. I saw those numbers. I was like, oh, he's going to be pissed. Lucas Giolito, pitcher for the White Sox. Braves, Rangers, Ian Anderson, and Garrett Richardson. Yankees, Royals, we got Nestor Cortez and Chris Bubik. Cubs, Brewers, Kyle Hendricks and Adrian Hauser. D-backs, Cardinals, Madison Bumgarner, Adam Wainwright. Reds, Rockies, Hunter Green, Antonio Cinzanella. Guardians, Athletics, Aaron Civale and Frankie Montas. Tigers, Dodgers, Tyler Alexander, Tyler Anderson. And finally, Nats, Giants, late night, Aaron Sanchez, Alex Wood. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. That is it. That is all. Go Noles over the weekend and some baseball and softball and all that good stuff. Good work out of you, Tommy. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Good work out of you, Director Matthew. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday. Looking forward to it. Take care.